Hello, welcome to Gurukul's CAT 100 series, a series that's designed specifically to take you from your study room to the corporate boardroom. I am Prady Sharma and this is Verbal Mastery with Prady.
Hello guys, so I'm back with another passage. Now, if you want to write this passage as a test, you can always go on to www.thegurukul.org.in and register for our 100 days to CAT test series. Okay, so this test series is completely free. There's no charges whatsoever. Okay, and we'll be uploading 100 tests of quant, LRDI and verbal ability to keep you consistent with your CAT prep and help you crack CAT 2025. So if you don't want to take this as a test, you can continue with this video. We'll be solving this passage together and we'll be going through the questions and the explanations together. But before that, what I want you to do is pause your video over here, read this paragraph and then we'll go forward. Okay, so this is the second paragraph of this passage. Pause the video here, jot down all the main points, then we'll go forward to the next paragraph. Okay, so third paragraph of the passage and last paragraph of the passage. So pause your video here, read this paragraph and then we'll go forward into the questions. Now guys, please solve these questions carefully, okay? Take not more than a minute, mark your answers and then we'll go forward into the second question. Okay, second question guys, again 1 minute, pause the video here, answer this question, then we'll move forward into the third question. Alright guys, third question, pause the video here, take 1 minute, then we'll move on to the fourth question. Okay guys, so the fourth question of the passage, last question of the passage, take 1 minute, finish answering this question, put down all your answers, all the 4 answers in the comments so that when we discuss the questions, you know which ones are correct and which ones are wrong. Now, if you're done, let's get into the explanations of the passage. So, the first paragraph, what does this say? Early this year, I found myself aboard a Russian research vessel as in ship, okay? The academic something Shokalsky. Now, this whole thing, I'm just going to, not remember this name. I'm going to think of this as AS, okay? Heading towards the coldest, driest, windiest continent in the world. Just descriptions, Antarctica. So, what do I understand from here? The author went on a research vessel to Antarctica. Very simple. My journey began in Madras, so in India, and involved crossing 9 time zones, 6 checkpoints, 3 water bodies, and at least as many ecospheres. Again, the author traveled a lot from India to go to Antarctica. That's how I should be understanding this passage so far. By the time I actually set foot on the Antarctic continent, I'd been traveling over 100 hours. So my first emotion on facing the Antarctica's expansive white landscape and uninterrupted blue horizon was relief. So the author who started from India to go to Antarctica, who had a lot of distance between them, traveled on a research vessel, and the moment they set foot on Antarctica and saw the beautiful white landscape in front of them, they felt relief. So far, this is the idea that we have. Okay, now, wonder. So what was this wonder? Wonder at its immensity, its isolation, but mainly how there could ever have been a time when India and Antarctica were a part of the same landmass. So now the author is also surprised. Okay, surprised at what? Surprised at a lot of things. How immense, how big Antarctica really is, how isolated Antarctica is, why there are no people in Antarctica. But more than those two things, the author is surprised that India and Antarctica were at a time at the same place, at the same landmass. Okay, 650 million years ago, giant amalgamated southern supercontinent Gondwana did exist, centered roughly around the present day Antarctica. So, what are the ideas that we get from here? First idea that we get from here is that author traveled from India to Antarctica on a Russian ship, okay, some kind of a research ship, okay, and there was relief when she set foot on Antarctica because she had been traveling for a long time, okay, and then there was some kind of a surprise, yes, on 3 things. First, how big it is, so I'm just going to write big instead of immense, okay. Second thing is how isolated it is, so I'm just going to write lonely instead of isolated. And third thing, that India and Antarctica belong to Gondwana. Okay, so what is this Gondwana? Same landmass. Right, so these are all the ideas that I am able to extract from this passage so far. So let's go into the second paragraph and see what else do we learn. Okay, so things were quite different then. The climate was much warmer, hosting a wide variety of flora and fauna. So from here I get that Antarctica in the past, okay, had great biodiversity. Okay, so that's what I'm going to get. So I'm just going to write this a little cleanly for you. Antarctica in the past had great biodiversity. This is one idea that I'm able to get. For 500 million years, Gondwana thrived. Thrived means excelled. Okay, but around the time when the dinosaurs were wiped out and the age of mammals got underway, the landmass was forced to separate into countries. So, Gondwana was one unit back then, but 500 million years ago, it got separated. Okay, shaping the globe much as we know it today. So, that separation of Gondwana is why we have these so many countries, continents and all divided. Okay. To visit Antarctica now is to be a part of that history. Fine, great. So far, there's no great new idea that I get except that, you know, separation of Gondwana led to formation of countries. Okay, formation of globe today. That's all I'm going to say. And this whole thing, whatever we have, says that if we are in Antarctica today, we can have a peek at history. Right, so that is the idea that I get from this part of the paragraph. So, for a sun-worshipping Indian like me, 2 weeks in a place where 90% of Earth's total ice volumes are stored is a chilling prospect. Not just for the circulatory and metabolic functions, but also for the imagination. So, from here, what do I understand? Okay, both physically and mentally, staying in Antarctica was challenging. Okay, so that is the idea that I get from here. Yes? So it's like walking into a giant ping pong ball devoid of any human markers, no trees, billboards, buildings. You lose all earthly sense of perspective and time here. The visual scales range from the microscopic to the mighty. Now whatever this midges and mites to the icebergs as big as countries, just an example for this, you know, microscopic to the mighty. So I'm not going to be worried about what he has given over there. So what do I understand from this part of the passage? What's the new idea that I get from this part of the passage? I understand that once you're in Antarctica, you lose sense of time. Okay, so let's go to the last part of the passage and let's try to understand what's happening over there. Days go on and a ubiquitous silence. Ubiquitous. Guys, in case you do not know this word, please write down. Ubiquitous means ever present. Okay, or present everywhere. Alright? So, days go on and a ubiquitous silence interrupted only by the occasional avalanche, that means falling down, okay, of mountains or anything, or carving ice sheet, consecrates the place. Consecrates the place means marks that place. In this constant, marks. Usually consecrate is used to declare something as sacred, okay, right. So climate change is one of the most hotly contested environmental debates of our time. Will the Antarctic ice sheet entirely melt? Will it be the end of the world? Maybe, maybe not. Either way, the Antarctica is a crucial element in this debate, not just because it's the only place in the world which has never sustained a human population and therefore remains relatively pristine. Guys, pristine, if you do not know the word means pure, okay, in this respect, but more important because it holds the ice cores 500,000 years old carbon records trapped in its layers of ice. If we want to study and examine Earth's past, present and future, Antarctica is the place to go. So what is the big idea that I get from here? Okay, two ideas. Idea number one, or I1 as I'll call it over here. Okay, let me just call it as I1, that climate change, okay, to study this we have to be at Antarctica. This will tell us about past, present and future. Okay, now idea 2 that I get, which is a related idea to the idea I1, obviously, is that when I'm looking at this climate change and all of what's happening at Antarctica, one thing is that the ice cores have trapped carbon, what is the word that he has used? Carbon records. Okay, so I'm just going to write C records. Now because of this, I am able to study all of this. Okay, so that's the idea that I'm able to derive from this particular part of the passage. Now that the passage is done, guys, let's quickly go into the questions and try to answer the questions. Let's see which of these options are correct. You can tell me in the comments how many questions you've gotten correct, and if you are liking this video so far, please drop that like button. Please hit that up. It motivates us to make for such videos for you and keep you consistent on your CAT practice. So, which of the following induced the feeling of relief? So, what gave the author feeling of relief? In paragraph 1, right? So, obviously, we've seen that the author, the moment he stepped onto the Antarctica because he's traveled or she's traveled for so long. She felt relieved after she came to Antarctica, right? So the long journey that involved the passage of numerous frontiers in both spatial and temporal terms, see, it's not just the journey. Looking at the beautiful big landscape of Antarctica gave her the relief, right? So this in fact caused her stress. This does not give her the relief. So this should not be our correct answer. The fact that a sun-worshipping Indian like the author could spend 2 weeks in ice-covered environs, again, she got relief as soon as she stepped on to Antarctica, not after spending 2 weeks. So, not going to be our answer. Antarctica's expansive white landscape and uninterrupted blue horizon that concluded her long journey. Yes, see, this conclusion of her long journey was what she wanted. That was very stressful for her, right? So, this could be a possible answer. And realization of the fact that Antarctica has been able to preserve its pristine nature against all odds. See, first of all, this all odds part has not been mentioned in the passage. Okay? Second thing, this has been told to us in the last paragraph, no, not in the first paragraph, right? So I can take this off because it does not fit the scope. So the correct answer, my dear friends, would be C. So let's go to the second question. The present day Antarctica is different from the supercontinent of Gondwana in all of the following ways except. So please try to understand the question here carefully. We want differences between Antarctica and Gondwana, okay? Except, that means what is the only similarity that we find? Okay, are we able to understand that? So we are trying to look for one similarity. So Gondwana was an undivided large landmass. Today it's not, then it was. So this, my dear friends, is a difference. The climate of Gondwana was much warmer than the present day Antarctica. Okay, fair enough. So this is also a difference. Gondwana was home to a rich degree of biodiversity. Again, a difference. So, Gondwana was not a natural habitat for the human species. Right. Neither that time because dinosaurs and all were there. Only Gondwana got separated after the dinosaurs got extinct, right? So, that time also there was no human species. This time also there were no human species. So, this is the similarity that we are able to find. So, our correct answer should be D. Right. So, let's go into the third question. All of the following signify the relevance of the phrase giant ping pong ball in the paragraph 3 in the context of the passage except. That means what is that one statement which does not talk about the relevance of giant ping pong ball. Okay, so Antarctica's expansive white landscape, yes, it was very white, it was very big. So yes, it was like a very giant ping pong ball for us. So this cannot be our answer. Antarctica gives out an unearthly ambience. Obviously there were no markers, nothing. So there's completely plain, there's absolutely nothing over there. So obviously this also will not be our answer. Okay, Earth's sphericity is the most evident in Antarctica. Now, this has no relevance to our thing. Okay, so why? Because when we are talking about giant ping pong ball, okay, the sphericity, you cannot just see at Antarctica, right? So this is an exception to what we are looking at. So this could be our answer. Antarctica is devoid of all human markers. Again, it's completely plain, right? So that is a relevant point. So this also should not be our answer. The only right answer should be C. Okay. Now, last one. Which of the following is not asserted in the passage? That means which has not been spoken about in the passage. In Antarctica, one loses all earthly sense of perspective and time. This has been spoken in the passage, so this will not be our answer. Okay? Antarctica exemplifies the potential hazards of climate change. Now, it tells us about the potential hazards of climate change. Not really. We only know that it's important for us in the debate of climate change, but it does not show us the hazards. It does not show us the problems of climate change. At least it's not been mentioned in the passage so far. So this could be our potential answer. Antarctica can have a detrimental effect on a person's physical and mental state. Yes, not only that circulatory and blood, but imaginative also, he said, right? So this has been mentioned in the passage. And Antarctica is fundamental to the climate change discourse. That means the debate. Yes, Antarctica has been mentioned as important to the debate. It's not been told that Antarctica shows the potential hazards, right? So this cannot be our answer. The best possible answer will be B. Okay? Thank you guys. So if you liked the video so far, please drop a like button. If there's any doubts in the questions, please mention them in the comments and I'll be sure to answer them.
Hope you enjoyed learning from today's session.
This series is designed to help you with your CAT preparation and practice daily. We are with you in this journey.
To watch the next video, click here. And to watch Gurukul's CAT 100 series, study room to boardroom, the entire playlist, click here.
If you learned from today's session, like, share, and subscribe.